Regardless of outcome, Steelers season already deemed a success, Chris Muller.
I've hated this question all week since they made the playoffs, so we've only had like 36 hours.
You did
say that this was the best season. You said this was Coach Tomlin's best season.
No, you said 2019, but then didn't you put this second?
You put this up there.
I put this second because I was trying to grade on a curve, but like in a way, I'm mad that they made the playoffs because I have the Joe Green vibe about it where he said I didn't want to get in if I didn't feel like the team that I was playing on could win it all, and I think that this team can't even win one game given who their matchup is. I also think that like people have been poo-pooing 6 spots in the draft from 14th to now 19th is the earliest that they can pick.
Okay.
You can still have a player be there at 14.
You don't like the poo-poo.
But you already told me
that
that we don't believe in the draft here anyways, in terms of our quality of drafts.
You don't want the poo-poo.
They've been up and down, but I still rather have more access to I want more access to a better pool of players, and you have that in theory.
Here's the
14.
Joe Green clip
but you
that
can still
Mulsey's
move,
alluding
though.
to.
I've always said when I was playing, if we didn't have the goods, I didn't care to be in the playoffs. We weren't getting that much of a check, and being in the playoffs just to get your tail whipped, that's no fun. And I'm saying if you don't have the goods, you don't need to be there. I want to have an opportunity to go the distance.
Well, you can't get that opportunity without actually getting into the dance. So technically, by that right there, you have the goods.
I just think that they're not one of the. I do not actually believe them to be one of the 7 best teams in the AFC.
You don't believe them to be a good team, period.
But you don't. But this is one of those things of opinions versus facts.
Correct.
The facts are what the facts are. We all played 17 games this season. We all had ample opportunities to win as many games as they could win. So if this team is the 7th seed in the AFC, yeah, they're the 7th best team because everybody had the same opportunities. Let's not act like everybody didn't play 17 games. Everybody didn't have injuries. Everybody didn't have quote-unquote easier games, harder games, and stuff like that. We can't take away from it because the Steelers did it and we didn't expect them, but we wanted the Chargers because we thought they had better players.
When they lose, they get their teeth kicked in. When they win, it's barely. They have one win all year by more than one score.
But what's the difference between that versus...
what is this now, the college football playoff rankings?
Seriously. If you win it, you win it. Like, you win, you win. That's what we always say, right?
I look at it predictively. I mean, they're one of the worst point differentials to ever get in the playoffs. They're minus 55 for the year. They need a ton of help. They're getting older at key positions like Cam Hayward. They need to find a new Cam soon. They're beat up. They need a new quarterback. They need all these things.
And yet and still they made it to the playoffs.
I would almost rather just say, hey, they're drafting 12th this year or something like that. Let the playoff teams play.
So my question to you is this. Are you one of those people that if you don't feel a team is good enough to contend in the postseason at the beginning of the year, should they just not play the games at all then?
No, I mean,
But no,
seriously,
what's the difference though? Because
I didn't think that this team was good enough to contend for the postseason. But obviously, I enjoy the process as what we do for a living, watching them and talking about them.
With that mentality, you're never going to experience an upset.
I mean, I think I've experienced several upsets this year, watching them win games against the Titans that they had no business winning.
The Titans are the 2 seed in the AFC right now as well. That's all I'm saying.
If you're trying to tell me it's the journey, if you're trying to tell me, I mean, the Bills game's a huge upset in week 1. If you're trying to tell me it's the journey and not the destination, I get some of that. It's just that I think that when they arrive at their destination, you know who's going to walk out of the house with 2 shotguns, double, just boom, 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 and knock them right out of the playoffs. So there is a little bit of a hollow feeling to it because I feel like they are going to be so wildly overmatched.
I did not think when this whole deal started, back when Ben agreed to take the pay cut, however it worked out, whatever machinations of him agreeing to come back for one more year, I did not think if they just got back to where they were in 2020 that I would say, hey, good job. So, but now I have to think about it this way. It is the Chiefs. Man. The Chiefs are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They're one of a handful of teams, in my opinion, that can win the whole thing. I think if you lose at Arrowhead to the Chiefs, there's no shame in that. However, I think in order for me to say, you know what, this was a successful season, I need them not to look like they're completely overmatched in this game. If they lose if they get embarrassed and they get blown out, I don't think I'm going to look at the season as a successful one. But if they were to lose a close game, I know the outcome is still the same. They lost in the first round. But if they give an honest effort for 60 minutes and they're right there, I think I'm going to feel like, you know what, this was worth it. This was a good year.
Because
they just gave
you,
a team
because they gave you 60 minutes of legitimate entertainment.
They just gave a team that is capable of winning a Super Bowl everything they can handle in their house.
You wouldn't be disappointed that they couldn't get over the hump in that situation?
You can be disappointed in an outcome and still feel like it was a successful one. When the Pirates got beat by the Cardinals in Game 5 of the NLDS, that was a successful season.
Was it a successful season when they got beat by Arrieta in the wild card game? The best pitcher like we had ever seen for that half of that season?
I know they won a ton of regular season games, but
they ran into an unkillable buzzsaw that year who then got killed by the Mets.
They only played one playoff game. And I had expectations or a belief that this was, hey, they can win the World Series. They made huge trades at the deadline.
I do have a lot of trouble reconciling how getting blown out by the Chiefs or getting beat close by the Chiefs is appreciably different.
Well, wait a minute.
I was thinking the same thing.
Hold on a second.
Man, you're still getting beat.
Our reaction to games, if they go to Cincinnati earlier in the year and they play a very close game but lose, they're not getting ripped apart the same way as they did when they get beat by 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, but what's it do for this year? Like, so what? You're still done after one game. So you got beat 40-0 or you got beat 35-34. Like, if anything, the close game would piss me off more because I would probably be able to cite one or two things that they could have done differently in the game that cost them.
But I don't. So you can't. I look at games and think, well, yeah, if 1 or 2 or 3 more things happen their way or they do things better, they win. But in the context of who they're playing.
I'm saying it would be even worse to me to somehow see them deliver the goods to that degree and still come up short. I would rather, because my notion here is that they are not a playoff-worthy team that somehow snuck in uninvited.
Well, wait a minute.
I just would rather see them get their teeth kicked in.
Hold on a second. You said did you not say I don't think they're a good team?
Correct, they're not.
So
it's not what I think. They aren't.
So if they lose in overtime to Kansas City, you won't think more of them? Of course you will.
No, I won't. That's one game. That's 60 minutes.
That is ridiculous.
If they lose in overtime to Kansas City, that reflects a lot more on Kansas City than it does them.
Well, how do you know that? You haven't seen the game yet.
Yo, you are really trying not to give them any credit. That's crazy.
If they play a close game and barely lose,
you would have to give them a little love. Like, it would still suck, and I get what you're saying because at the end, the result is the same, and you're going to think draft position as well, everything that was lost. But we can't take away that if they compete
and play a great game, say it's like 41-38, so their defense doesn't compete, but old number 7 turns back the clock and throws for 430 yards.
Okay.
A month and a half from now. No,
I get that part. You're thinking about that. I get that. But in just this, Sunday night game all by itself.
Sure, okay, I'll concede the point. I would give them some credit. They would still have then lost after one game.
Yeah, he's anticipating what's going to happen after that in terms of the Big Ben's not done, he's coming back, that whole parade.
That's a totally different
But all of that lumps in for Mosey, though. And he throws in the draft picks as well.
Do we give them credit for losing to the Chargers after they played like absolute dog vomit for 3 quarters?
I'm not
discussing the Vikings, same thing.
I'm not discussing whether or not in the long run it's good or bad for them to either get blown out or play a close game. I'm saying, is it a successful season if they go 12 rounds with Kansas City and almost win? Yes, it is.
No, it's not. You can't tell me it is, just like I can't tell you it's not. You're saying, yes, it is, definitely. No, it's not. It's still a first-round loss.
If they get blown out, you're going to come in here on Monday and say, see, told you so. Sorry-ass Steelers, not a good team.
When the last time they won a playoff game?
To get into the playoffs, not good. And if they lose in overtime, you're not going to have that reaction.
I'm going to walk in here and say,
they lose in overtime.
I'm going to walk in here and say, you know what? This hurts even more because a team that had no business being there had a chance to spring a huge upset and you couldn't get it done.
You don't like hope. That's what it is.
I don't want hope for a team that I know cannot win it.
Because that hope is going to make you feel sad when they eventually or potentially don't win.
Yeah, and that's a different question. And that's also like the idea that if they give a great performance but lose, it somehow changes the outlook of what the entire season was in retrospect. That's BS. No, it doesn't.
Nah, for me, man, I just look at it as I would rather have loved than lost than not have loved at all. You sound like a guy that would have never made it to the playoffs because you have that fear of losing. You can't have a fear of losing.
Oh,
that's why you play the game.
There's a reason why I'm not a football player.
Yeah, but that to me is why we play. It's like, man, you want that chance. I'd rather have went out there and lost every single year in the first round of the playoffs than to never make it and be lying to myself like, oh yeah, I ain't want to go anyways. I know it was going to lose.
I don't think I can
Like, nah, man.
I don't think I can accurately portray the depth of how much of a nihilist I feel about them on the air.
But my negativity about the way they lost last year to Cleveland wasn't solely about who they lost to, little brother. It's that they got spanked and they got down 4 touchdowns. Like
The
that
manner in which they did.
Right.
Yes.
So the manner in which they play against a team that you bet on to win the Super Bowl.
That's right.
If they take a team that you think could go to the Super Bowl, or let alone if they win the Super Bowl, we're gonna all be over here like, man, we went to overtime with them dudes, man. We had our chance.
Right.
You know? We knew our team was down. We knew this was a good team. We're playing with house money. But they came out here and took them to the brink. The better team won at the end.
I'm sorry.
though.
I'm going to look at that as a successful
would too.
season. Just like these recent Penguins early exits, I wasn't as perturbed by what happened last year because they actually played better than the Islanders. They just had one player who crapped his pants. That's different than like getting swept and just getting like boat raced out. So how it happens and who it happens to matters. If they were in this week, if they were playing the Bengals again, a team that hasn't won a playoff game since 91, and they got destroyed, I would be like, this, what did they really, your point, Arthur, from the second they brought everybody back was, do I really want to be the 2020 Colts?
Right.
What good do you get from that? I don't know. If they give the Chiefs everything they can handle, I will have a different opinion.
Based on what?
On this team.
Based on what?
Because I hold the Chiefs in high regard. They've gone to back-to-back Super Bowls.
3 AFC Championship games in a row now?
But what will this team, not the Chiefs, who you hold in high regard,
What will they have accomplished?
What will they have done that will have fundamentally changed what you saw for 17 games previous?
But that's always how it works.
Yeah.
So you're going to be drawing big, broad conclusions if they play a close game this weekend?
But time out, don't we always do it at the end of the season?
Yes.
Think about this. The way we talk about this team,
dude,
he was couple of months,
he was on a 13-3
compared
team.
to how we were at the beginning of the season. That matters.
Arthur was on a 13-3 team that had it all undone because they lost to Jacksonville at home, and that's all people say about that season.
He lost in the playoffs.
People don't say about the 2005 Steelers. Well, actually, the Bengals won the AFC North. They finished in second place. That doesn't mean anything. They won the freaking Super Bowl.
Right.
I just don't. You're not talking about a team that won the Super Bowl or a 13-3 team that vomited on itself. Sorry, Arthur, against the Jaguars.
Good, man.
You're talking about a 9-7-1 walking zombie, practically the Walking Dead, and saying that somehow playing a close game, going 12 rounds, has some sort of Rocky 1 quality to it for them.
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
All I'm saying is this.
No, it doesn't.
Think about where we were 6 weeks ago.
Are they or are they not at the end of the season?
Think about where we were 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, we were watching the same thing. Them stagger around like a drunk and somehow
And when
find
did
their
we
way
say
home.
6 weeks ago this could not happen under any circumstance?
And
Even
part of me
last
wishes it
week,
hadn't.
even last week, we said this could not happen. But yet and still, here we are.
If you told me at any point in the season, in the offseason, pick a date on the calendar, the Steelers season ends with a close playoff loss to the Chiefs, I would say, good year.
You're like, all right, cool.
At any point.
With this team, the way they played this year?
July 1st,
Come on
September
now.
1st, December 1st, January 1st. If that's the final chapter
Like, think
for this
about
team,
in this room.
I say good year.
In this room, did any of us have them advancing far in the playoffs? Did any of us have them winning 13
I picked them
wins
to go
this
8
season?
and 9.
I think I had them at 10 wins. Would
7
you have
and
them
10.
at 7 and 10? Okay, so none of us thought that they would even get to where they are right now.
I'm going back. I feel like I'm.
Well, 10 and 7, I guess,
Well,
technically.
I feel like
yes.
I'm like going
To an extent.
psychotic here a little bit. How does a blowout versus a close loss change anything, though? I just don't get it. You guys keep both saying, well,
Okay, so
it's
no.
It's about
Prime
you
example.
fought
Are you
hard.
ready? Are you ready for this? Which game were you more disappointed in the Steelers in? The Packers game or the second Bengals game?
This year?
They played both of those teams this year. One they lost close to, one they got blew out by. Both teams are good.
Weren't they down 17 to the Packers, though, and they got a cosmetic little touchdown?
Bro. Come on, man. You know what we're talking about. Like, which one did you feel worse about?
Well, after the Packers game,
No. You're doing a lot of, like...
No. I'll tell
like,
you. I said I don't
set-
want Ben Roethlisberger to ever take another snap.
Okay. And after the Bengals game, what was your thoughts?
The better team obliterated them. Like an obvious result.
I don't know. NFL games are all supposed to be close. When you get
Exactly,
spanked by
man.
somebody,
Come on,
that's
man.
an
You
eye-opening
feel-
thing.
Outside of you, then, I'm pretty sure 90% of Pittsburgh felt very different following that Bengals game than that Packers.
I'm
Dude,
just built different.
That's all.
I think Steelers fans right now, if you told them Sunday night was going to give you a compelling, competitive game that went 60 minutes and the Steelers barely lost, I think Steelers fans would say, you know what? I'll sign up for that.
Because at the end of the day, the draft position isn't changing right now, right? They have already committed to being in the playoffs. So regardless of how much you want to complain about those 6 spots, that's not changing barring a trade. So at least make this worthwhile.
The only
would you
way...
rather you rather lose those draft positions and get blown out? No. If we're gonna lose the spots, at least make it interesting. Make me feel like y'all deserve to lose these spots. Let me at least feel like y'all wanted to be here.
They'll feel like a worthy playoff team
exactly,
to me if they lose
man.
a close game to Kansas City. Like they deserve to be in the playoffs.
If you get blown out, it's like, man, you got blown out and you lost some spots. What are y'all doing?
They'll be a worthy playoff team if they go in there and pull the upset of the year. Nothing
That's not
short of
worthy,
that.
though. If they win it, now there's like, y'all might be able to do something different because you're looking at the number 2 or the number 1 seed saying y'all just beat them a couple weeks ago. I think that's a totally different
then they'll
vibe.
have a realistic chance to actually pull another upset and get to the title game.
So realistically, the only reason why you're this pessimistic is because of the Chiefs, not because of the Steelers. If the Steelers are playing the Titans right now, your temperament is different.
Well,
if the Steelers are playing the Bengals right now, your temperament might be
it would be the same with the Bengals.
Chris,
fair enough. The Bengals is up there.
Chris already said that if it's a close game, it's the Chiefs' fault and not
correct
the Steelers' credit.
Pony, you should know this. You were in the room with me when I uncorked the most famous take in fan history of the Ravens lost it. The Steelers didn't
You
win
haven't
it.
seen the game yet. You don't know
You
that
have
it's
a pretty
gonna
good idea that it's going to play out the way I think it is.
Based on what?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know.
Man.
The Steelers going in there last time and getting a foot put up their rear end?
Didn't we just watch a national championship game last night where we saw Georgia get a foot put up their butt a couple weeks ago? And didn't you just talk about that quarterback a couple weeks ago? I think all of us talked about that quarterback a couple weeks ago, and what did he do? Back against the wall, in the
Georgia was
clutch.
still favored in this game.
Back against the wall, in the clutch. What did he do? That's all I'm saying.
Are the Steelers favored in this game?
It doesn't matter.